Hello everyone and welcome to Rad Chat, founded by me, Namanjot Anderson.
And me, Jo McNamara. So Rad Chat is a forward-thinking global knowledge hub where healthcare professionals can advance their expertise in radiotherapy and oncology. Unlike traditional academic resources, we blend real-world experience, expert insights, best practice, and of course, most importantly, patient perspectives.
We make advanced knowledge engaging and accessible, supporting continuous learning and professional development without compromising patient care or personal time. By providing insights into both technical skills and career development, helping you progress confidently in your field and shape your professional future.
Just to let you know, our episodes may contain sensitive and difficult topics that you may find distressing or triggering.
This is a special episode in collaboration with UK Imaging Oncology, the UK's largest imaging and oncology event. UKIO continues to be the place to come for cutting-edge, practice-based content for a multidisciplinary audience, to join up with like-minded professionals, to gain up to 3 days of CPD, and to visit a large professional exhibition of the latest state-of-the-art equipment, services and technology. So UKIO in 2026 will take place at the ACC in Liverpool on 8th and 10th of June. To register, please follow the link that we've put in the show notes. And today we have the amazing pleasure of talking with Dr. Shah Islam about his role as the UKIO president. Hi Shah, how are you?
Yes, thank you. And obviously big fans of the show and the podcast, so super happy to be here.
Thank you for joining us. For anyone who doesn't know you, could you tell us a bit about you, your career to date?
Yeah, so I wear lots of hats. So my main day job, 9 to 5, or including on calls, is that I'm a diagnostic and interventional neuroradiologist at the National Hospital for Neurology and Neurosurgery, which is part of UCLH, and it's housed within Queen Square. So historically, Queen Square has been considered the home of neurosurgery. It's the first place where Sir Victor Horsley did first neuro operations. It's a nice place to be in. There's not many places in the world where you can go to work in a beautiful Victorian square. I don't know if you guys have been to it. So that's the day job, but I do lots of other things in terms of research. I've still got a research program going, brain tumor imaging. I've always been involved in health technology consulting. I've been in that for about 10 to 15 years, basically working with startups, small companies, and scaling them throughout the NHS and other health markets. I did a lot of work in the early iterations of AI and bringing it to market. And then, various bits of mentorship, coaching, and that's where this whole UKIO piece fits in because, I am now president, and it's kind of my job to kind of steer this ship into 2027 and make sure everyone has a good time and a really good meeting.
Incredible. I think you've downplayed a little bit of your career because obviously when we put your name into Google, there's a lot that comes up. Tell us a little bit about what drew you specifically to the interventional neuroradiology space initially.
Yeah, so you kind of, most of these things, these decisions in life are kind of serendipitous, right? They're like chance. So I've always been doing integrated academic and clinical training, and I went down this oncology stream, I think in my SHO years, and as part of that kind of job role, you had to do 4 months of radiology and nuclear medicine. I turned up my first day and said, look, I'm going to become an oncologist. Do you mind if I just go straight and do the research in oncology and whatnot? And the guy said, look, if that's what you want to do, that's fine, but why don't you just spend a few days, a couple of weeks, just to know that you've done it. And probably during that time, I met my first mentor, and she was like super sweet. Name's Teresa Shishko, and we just got on really well. And she was just, I think you might be really good at this. On the back of that, I kind of made the decision that I wanted to be an imager, looking at images. And I applied for an academic clinical fellowship, and that was jointly between George's and the Marsden. And then that kind of set the tone. So shifted from oncology to radiology, and then within radiology I was meant to be an oncology radiologist working at the Marsden, but again, like very early on in radiology they sent me up to the neuro department. And I remember I always say this thing, when you look at old reports or whatever when you're doing something, you see what the consultant's name is, and there's a guy, Declan Johnson, who's a interventional neuroradiologist, and he used to sign off his reports as DJ, and it was like something like spinal interventionist and neurovascular interventionist, something like that. And I was just like, that sounds really cool. Like, I don't know what any of this stuff is, but I'm going to I quite like that. Sounds cool. It just so happens like Declan was an incredible mentor. He invested so much time in getting to know us registrars as people rather than trainees and whatnot. And then my whole life, my whole career, I've always been drawn to people and the stuff that they're doing. And I never look back. And then, every time I always feel every time I pivot into something else, you kind of disappoint a ton of other people who expected you to do something else. But I guess you just work with people you like in something that you want to do and don't get caught up in the politics. I think you're generally always going to disappoint someone in what you do, but just frame what's important to you, what brings you happiness. And very early on, I've adopted that. Sometimes it works better than others, and you still kind of end up doing things and being in places that aren't ideal. But you kind of got your hard nose and whatnot and stick to, you stick to your principles, and it's kind of, stood me in good stead. I'm not free of mistakes. I still make them. I just know how to deal with them better and how to learn from them.
What's your favourite structure to report on?
Favourite structure? Brain. Yeah. And brain MRI. Actually, I lie. Because, angiography. Yeah, I love an angiogram. I think it's artistic in what it looks like, how the images are produced, and the depths of interpretation that you can go. Sorry, Jo, go on.
I was going to say, just based on what you've just said, wouldn't it be amazing if maybe at UKIO we could have a nice art gallery with all of these amazing, structures on that we get to see day in, day out. But do we ever see past the pathology of it? Just seeing it as a piece of art, I think, is really powerful. And I definitely, when I've worked in stereotactic and stuff before, the angios always blow my mind. It is like a work of art. They're incredible.
And I can't look at trees anymore without seeing vascular structures of the brain. I always look like that looks like a carotid. Could that be an aneurysm? Could I treat that? How would I do it? It is artistic. Amazing. But more importantly, when you're looking at pictures, you can often become desensitized to reporting on a picture without consciously thinking that's the patient. I think what I do is, and this is crazy because I've never vocalized these thoughts, is like you look at the clinical history, you look at the brain, and you kind of build up this backstory to the patient. A lot of it is bad news. We're not necessarily the ones that break it, but if you're conscious that that's a patient there behind that digital image, you have a greater responsibility of the words that you put in that report. It's super easy as a radiologist to give a wide differential diagnosis, to be extremely guarded in your opinion. And sometimes the imaging can only take you so far. It can be infection, inflammatory, ischemic, fine. But to go that extra mile to help the clinician triage that patient into the right care, and just to have this consciousness and this awareness that someone's going to get this bad news on the end of it. So the least you can do is make sure that the report's as informative as it is as possible.
It's interesting you say that, because actually as well now lots of patients do have access to read their reports, so they may not necessarily be able to interpret them. But I do think, the way in which you maybe write what the diagnosis is could potentially impact that patient, especially if people are accessing it via digital files now and not necessarily in front of a consultant, or whether it's digital. It'll be interesting to see how that kind of develops. What does a day in your life typically look like? Is there a typical day?
Gosh, typical days. There's no particular typical day, but the day encompasses everything that I do. So there's not a day in which you can escape working in health tech, being a frontline clinician, being a researcher, plus anything else that you do. So, I was saying to someone yesterday that I wish there were more than 24 hours in a day because I need more time. Unfortunately, there's not. So, in a very unhealthily, I've managed to basically extract as much as I can from those 24 hours. That comes at a huge personal cost. So it's very, very early starts for me. So I'll try and get a significant chunk of work done before work, whether that's just because I work on multiple time zones as well. So whether it's replying to emails from people on different time zones first thing in the morning. And then generally I like to be super fresh for if I'm intervening. So I kind of plan my day so I get a good night's sleep before my intervention days. Try and get in early, try and give the patient the time required during that consent process to really understand what is at risk here and, what can go wrong. I do aneurysms, AMs, day in, day out treating of these things, right? So my frame of reference is different. It's my day job. But for the person in front of me, it's the biggest thing that they're ever going to go through in their life. And you can't desensitize yourself from that process. So you have to try and make every patient feel as if they are the most important priority for you on that day. So I like to spend a lot of time on the morning of the procedure. It works well for me. And then, morning brief, get the team in shape. It's a good time for me to just, it's a good time to just get that multidisciplinary team of radiographers, the angio nurses, radiologists together, circumvent any issues of the day. Hopefully the list goes to plan. Rarely does, because it's a very dynamic environment in angio, which patients ready, which aren't. Emergency comes through the door. Now we offer 24/7 thrombectomy, so your elective list could be interrupted with an emergency. Get home very late most days. There's always a bit of diagnostic commitment to do. And like with workstations at home now, it kind of bleeds into your days, your evenings, and then evenings, then emails, offset clients, someone needs something actioning. At the end of my day, America has kind of come alive. So then I'm working with American teams until their day finishes. And then between midnight and maybe 2 a.m., it's basically time for personal growth, reflection. I realized if I was going to commit to this career in interventional neuroradiology, you have to kind of give your all to everything. So I spent a lot of time analyzing day's cases, what could have gone better, what could have gone wrong. I study frame by frame of the procedure each time, every time. And it's just this iterative process of just wanting to get better all the time. Generally a big belief. Look, I was never talented at anything, so anything that I did do well, it's only because I worked hard at it. Some people are gifted and whatnot. I wouldn't say I'm particularly gifted, but I would never ever let anyone outwork me. Like, that's just a hard line. I learned that from The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. He always used to say, like, look, when he's in the gym, he's not going to let anyone outwork him. And I've just taken that approach to my work. And so, yeah, I'm a firm believer in hard work. If you want to get better, talent will only get you so far.
Shah, there'll be a lot of people listening to this thinking that's amazing, but what's your why? Why do you want to always work this hard?
Yeah, I guess why is because I'm a genuine believer in, we're on this earth for a limited period of time, and you can't ever take any material possessions with you. What you can do is leave some goodwill and a legacy. And I've always seen my parents go out of their way to help people. Like, my mum was involved in social services in a really deprived part of London. I saw her give her all to these disenfranchised communities, always go above and beyond. So I just think if you can do something for someone to make their life better, then why not? It costs me nothing. Sometimes it comes at a personal cost of time and whatnot, and the stress and the pressure. But, I think we're all part of something bigger. If we all take that mentality, then the world, so much craziness going on in the world, then we can kind of influence these spheres around us. Those nodes of positivity will spread. Sometimes it works better than others. You often can't control a system, i.e. the NHS, which personal opinion is that is brilliant, but workplaces are often far from ideal. But kindness costs nothing, and you can just work on yourself to be the best version of yourself and give the most and hope someone takes that forward. And that's really the MO. Like I say, sometimes I still get stressed. I might snap at someone, but the general play is be the best version of yourself, be the kindness.
Yeah.
Always do your best on the day, the clinical job. More often than not, it'll work. Sometimes you still get complications. But then going back to that first part of the day when I'm with the patient and trying to convey that they are the most important person to me on that day, it helps when things don't go so well. Believe me, I work in neurovascular radiology. It's high risk, high pressure.
Yeah.
And sometimes I can't predict the outcome. Regardless of everything that I want to plan, it still get complications. So yeah,
Got
my
deep
why
really
is why
quick
not.
there, Shah.
Yeah, because I think, with these podcasts and whatnot, and I genuinely don't do any, you'll see my visibility LinkedIn and all of that is pretty low. But that's because I would rather know fewer people who are more meaningful and I can influence their mindset than just kind of be, how do we put it?
Stretching for the limelight.
Yeah, I find that very hollow. So I've been on a strong, difficult journey to get to where I am, but it wasn't as bad as those guys who didn't have mentors. Like, I benefited from just being able to accept help from other people. All of those things, they're all kind of mature a person, add layers to their fabric. And now I'm in basically a position where I can take someone, I can help them become the best version of themselves and show them a better way, because that stretched, hollow kind of version that you often see of people, you're not making meaningful connections. That was and that comes back to like, look, now you can plug in UKIO.
Yeah.
The reason I did it was because I know that there's this juggernaut of a team behind the thing, but they're not resources, they're people. So the least I can do in my leadership position is take care of the people that put this thing together, who work on it for 12 months, but all you see is 3 days of it.
Yeah.
So I take care of these people. You'll never hear me say no. I'll always say yes, and then I'll go and work out how to do it. And then coming back to the theme, it's like healthcare is a personal game. It's that human connection which you'll remember from your lived experience. And I've been on the other side of it. What makes a difference to someone is how they were made to feel during that process.
Yeah.
Not that an AI algorithm said you've got like a heat map that says you may or may not have cancer of some sort. So in this age of digitization, AI, all of this stuff, maybe we're doing a disservice to the people who deliver healthcare. So that's what I wanted to celebrate from UKIO. Like, let's put the focus back on people. AI's got boring, We've been hearing about it. And I can say I was one of the early guys on the scene, but let's put the focus back on people, their well-being, how as a group we can embrace these technologies and become better, frontline healthcare workers.
So you said a little bit about kind of that you were at the start when AI was gathering some momentum. Do you think that's the key then, that AI has given us more time and space to then essentially dedicate back to our patients? What's your take on kind of the use of AI without kind of dedicating this podcast episode to it?
No, exactly. Look, there are use cases in which it can clearly work and it can clearly help. If we look at the screening space where imaging is used for screening, there's going to be a huge volume of work that radiology imaging professionals will just not be able to cope with. It's a good in that space, but you've got high volume, very narrow questions, cancer, not cancer, go to an arbitrator, it works. But those use cases are few and far between. The early hype we've seen, the sad thing is that with those early use cases of soft triage in emergency lists and whatnot, they haven't translated into the workplace because there's no, there's no clinical need, and there's no, from a cost perspective, it's not helping the hospital. And we knew this would be the problem when we would pitch these ideas very early on, but we still went through this process of trials, in some cases clinical trials, a lot of research funding. And I think it's detracted from taking research funding into other important areas because AI was sexy and everyone had to be seen to be doing it. If we think about PACS, from PACS being an idea to where it is now commonplace in every hospital, every radiology department, that was a 20-year process. So you have to give AI the time without the hype to find its place and translate. It just so happens that now we live in the age of social media and everything else. It's constantly in your face. Everyone's looking for that golden bullet because there's been so much investment in that area. All we have to do is basically slow it down, do more, better thought out research experiments with it. And of course it'll come. I'm under no illusions. We're just not ready for mass scaling right now.
You said AI's got boring. I would probably agree to some extent, but in some ways it is still quite exciting in healthcare because of it's almost limitless what we could achieve. What are you excited about in the next 10, 20 years of AI in healthcare, and maybe specifically in your field as well?
Yeah, so what I'm super interested in is how to take multi-omic data points, not just in imaging, but marry that up with all of a patient's data points and give us insights into prognostication that we don't see. So I guess maybe I'm not articulating very well. I want the AI to give me insights into stuff that I can't see rather than do the stuff that I can do. Whether it might be able to do it better than me, it might be able to do it faster than me, but we're doing a disservice if we're not using AI to gain novel data insights. And I think that's the game changer. So new imaging biomarkers and, this kind of drive towards precision medicine. So, we group disease states together. There's staging of cancers, different cancer subtypes, but going even further and then developing the drugs on the back of that to really target that's super specific cancer type. So I'm very interested in the pharma piece of how all of these different data points then tie into drug development, and we should treat each patient along this personalized medical route. And that will be super interesting. What I say is boring. I'm bored of lung nodule detection, and chest X-rays, and fractures and stuff like that.
Or AI on LinkedIn. That's what I'm bored of.
Yeah.
I can tell instantly when I look at them, like, you've used AI to write this.
Exactly. It all comes back to the same that we mentioned earlier. If you wanted this ChatGPT piece of version of Shah, you could just do that. But I think we have more to offer as people. We can't take away. People are very interesting because they're complicated, right?
Yeah.
We've got emotions, we've got lived experiences, and all of these multifactorial things that kind of make us who we are. It's kind of more interesting than whatever someone's header is on LinkedIn, right? That doesn't tell you what a person is. And I always say this thing, if you got a 16-year-old girl, I don't, but if you've got children and you've a 16-year-old girl, you'd tell them, you'd say Instagram is fake. It's not it's not someone's reality. It's a version of a life they want to project. LinkedIn is exactly the same. It's a version of a company that someone's willing to, a version of their successes that they're trying to project. I think it's pretty unhealthy. I've got a very good friend, I won't name him, but we often talk about when we go to conferences and everything, we have to do this, it's business at the end of the day. You go through this meet and greet and it's kind of like speed dating. But every so often you get to peel away with someone. It's like you just drop the act and it's just like, okay, how's it going for you? You develop that human connection. And then, that's all you have, half an hour. And it's like, all right, back to business now. I guess everyone to some degree is projecting a version of themselves. I guess one, I got old. Two, I stopped caring. But truly what I value now are, meeting new people and really getting to know them. And that's the beauty of life for me, because everyone's kind of interesting. You just have to kind of work a little bit to find what their essence is about.
So, Shah, we've mentioned UKIO. For anyone who's kind of maybe seen any Instagram posts or any social media or been on the website, what is it, the essence of what you are hoping UKIO is going to give people this year?
So, one, I'll talk about the broader thing about UKIO and why I like it. Like, look, as a radiologist, I don't own imaging in the hospital. It's, within radiology, where radiologists, radiographers, nurses, sometimes therapeutic radiographers, HCAs, domestics. Like when I get Friday KFC, that's the team that's going to be getting it, right? When I throw a summer party, those are the people that come. UKIO.
Hope we get an invite as well, yeah?
Yeah, well, I love it. We'll do some
KFC in summer, happy with that.
Podcasting from the Thames. You heard it here first. But UKIO is the only one that embraces the end-to-end workflow of how imaging is acquired, reported, and the people involved in it, right? So you take that MDT that I get to work with day in, day out, and you put them all on one roof. And I think that's incredibly powerful because you get everybody talking to each other. And so when we plan UKIO, we think about the different groups and how do we maximize that delegate experience, depending on where they come from. Trainees, radiographers, general managers of departments, everyone. The other radiology societies and whatnot, they're generally geared towards one group of that imaging chain. So it's super fun for me because I get to do all these cool things. What can you expect? What are we doing differently this year than we haven't done before? So day one, I've got Professor Shah Islam, who's considered a super leader in this space of kind of digital health, futuristic medicine, but also has done a lot of humanitarian work. So I'm really interested to see how his brain marries all of these concepts together. He's worked in conflict zones. He's constantly on the bleeding edge of innovation. So he'll be doing the plenary. Day two, we're going to have a very honest debate, and people may not like this, but it's centered around why AI has failed in the UK. And, I wouldn't consider it a failure, but why has it been slow to adopt? Why are people not buying it, considering all the claims that were made 7-8 years ago? And then day three, we got the President's Awards, because I genuinely wanted to celebrate people who deliver these frontline services. Like, UKIO should be a celebration of the things that we do very well in the UK. So we've put out the calls for the nominations, and then me and my working party, we're going to go through them and hand out these awards. And then what I'd like to do is put the focus back on those people that win it. So that's cool. We're constantly we never rest on our laurels. We have to reinvent. Reinvention's scary because you're moving away from a formula, but it's the only way to grow, see what works, what doesn't. You get 2 years to do this. I hope some of these experiments work. I treat everything like a science project, right? You do an experiment, see what works, look at the results, what doesn't, readjust. Hopefully I don't make the same mistakes twice, but yeah, I'm excited. You guys will be there podcasting throughout the day.
Always. We love UKIO. It's a great opportunity to kind of speak more with radiography colleagues from across the entire pathway, so it's lovely from that perspective. And there is a real buzz, I think, about UKIO. We always feel really constricted because we're in our pod box and we're like, oh, this talk looks amazing, I'd love to go to that talk. So It's great to kind of get a follow on social media from the audience members using the hashtag to then kind of follow along with things that are happening.
Yeah, the plan is to not make it very stuffy, to keep a lot of energy.
Yeah.
We got a president's dinner on the Monday night, which is open to everybody now. We take that energy from day one. You guys will be there, of course, on as an invite as the president's guest, but it'll be open to everybody. And we're just going to have a lot of fun. Take that energy from day one into one place, because everyone kind of splits off in Liverpool doing things, but it's just quite nice to everyone to at some point congregate at the Titanic Hotel.
It's that networking though, isn't it, Shah? It's that community.
Yeah.
And we certainly have met people at UKIO and then gone on to do projects with them that we would never have been involved in had we not have been there. So it's a great opportunity from that perspective to kind of connect.
Yeah, I guess it was the first place that we connected.
Yeah.
And I think we can do some good stuff together. Haven't figured it out. So just know that I'll say yes and then I'll figure out how to do it later.
So we're moving towards the latter end of the podcast recording, although we've got loads of questions we could ask you. But we thought it'd be fun to do a bit of a quick fire word or sentence answers. So you can't waffle on, you've just got to be succinct. So MRI or CT?
MR.
Research or clinical day?
Clinical.
Most exciting innovation up to now?
Most exciting innovation, platinum coils for aneurysm treatments. Changed the game.
Brilliant. One skill every healthcare professional should develop, in your opinion?
Resilience.
And the best piece of career advice you've ever received?
Pressure builds diamonds.
Amazing. Love it.
So Shah, the end of the episode, we always like to end with top tips for our listeners. Anything else you want to give our listeners before we end?
Top tips, I think, be brave. Everyone harbours dreams and everyone at some point feels stuck and whatnot. Never be afraid to just seek help, cold call, find a mentor, just do it. If something's not working, it's insanity to keep going. Just be brave, and you never know what will come out of it.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on, and thanks everyone for listening, and
Anytime.
Hopefully we'll see you all at UKIO 2026. You can use this episode as part of our free continual professional development accredited content, which offers flexible learning that fits your busy schedule. Just check out the show notes for the reflective questions, links to literature and resources, and a link to complete the form to receive your accredited certificate.
Stay up to date with the latest radiotherapy and oncology advancements by liking and following us on social media channels and hitting subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Join a supportive community designed by professionals who understand the unique challenges of radiotherapy and oncology. Check out our website www.radchat.co.uk. Together, we're actively working to improve our profession and make a lasting positive impact on cancer care.
It goes without saying that we can't achieve this alone. It takes all of us working together to create real change. That's why we value every voice and every contribution. We ask that you listen and learn, spread the word, share your story, and if you need to, contact us.
If you like what we're doing, buy us a coffee, keep us caffeinated, go to our website to find out more. Thank you all for listening and take care.